All right, so there is a big question, and this is Rietta's question. She came to me with ideas for the assignment, we were talking about it, and she wanted to know how long, it's what I call a rich question in education, how long are we still going to be driving around internal combustion engine cars? And I've put in brackets there, ICE, that's an acronym that we use throughout this assignment to talk about petrol or diesel-driven cars. Okay, how long is it going to take until electric cars are a viable alternative to the internal combustion engine cars? So that's the big question that drives this assignment, and hopefully by the end of the assignment you'll actually have some answers. Now, what's the context? Why did we do that? Okay, first of all, it's pretty topical at the moment. The government are talking about it. Both sides of the election, both of the major parties are talking about electric cars. In Europe, they've set targets about when they're going to stop actually manufacturing internal combustion engine cars. So it's really quite contemporary in your world. Like by the time you get to my age, I think there's every possibility that we'll just be driving electric cars. So it's relevant. The other thing is there's some really excellent learning for you in doing the running cost comparison, because when I was your age, I knew I was getting a car pretty soon. Put up your hand if you think you're going to get a car pretty soon, or have already got one maybe, right? But I had no idea about the running costs of a car. I knew about petrol and registration and insurance, but there are so many other things to consider, and this assignment's going to ask you to consider them. So there's some great learning that will come of this assignment. Some learning you'll be able to apply to your own life really, really soon. And that's what we want from education, right? We want relevant learning that you can apply to your own life, not something that sits in the abstract world that is not relevant to you. Now, can I encourage you strongly to do those background readings? They contain a lot of contextual information, a lot of ideas that you can apply, particularly towards the end of the assignment when you're going to be asked to predict the future. So having a good understanding of the background of the issue and some of the considerations that go into whether you buy an electric car or not, I think that will help you when you come to try and predict the future. So the background readings are important. You may or may not quote from them, just depends on what you need. That's not a typical car. That's just a cool picture. You know, I like to put pictures in the assignment to try and stimulate your imagination. How are we going to decide how long it's going to be until electric cars are viable? Like, how do we do that in general terms? Well, the first thing I need you to do is I need you to think of a typical car. Like, it's no good doing cost comparisons between, say, a Porsche or a Lamborghini or, you know, a Maserati or whatever, you know, fancy car you wished you were able to own. You know, that's not a good comparison because they're, you know, expensive to run, expensive to buy. If we're going to answer this question in general terms for your everyday person, we need to work out, well, what would be the typical internal combustion engine car? What would be the typical electric car? And how do you work that out? I'm not going to answer that for you, but that's what I'm on about here. You need to have a look at all the cars, well, not all, but have a look at a good sample of cars available for purchase in Australia, in Canberra at the moment, and what's pretty typical. You know, is it a Mazda 6? Is it just a family sedan? Is that your typical car? Whatever it is, you make a decision and then you write a paragraph that justifies that. So this is a little bit like an English assignment too, right? Where you make assertions and then you have to justify them in a paragraph form. So work out what you think is the typical combustion engine car, justify it in a paragraph, determine the new car price So do some research, find out what that costs, because that price is going to drive some of the assignment, especially the opportunity cost stuff later. And then do the same for the electric vehicle. It's going to be easier for the electric vehicle because there's fewer of them available. All right, so getting to the typical one or the average one's going to be much easier. Okay. The one thing I'd change about this assignment is the providing a screenshot of relevant advertising material. Okay, I thought, I had this naive idea, I don't really know where from, but that car dealers put out pamphlets or, put things on their website saying, Mazda 3, 2099, drive away or something, and I know TV ads sometimes do that, but some don't, right? It's a new marketing, I don't know whether it's a trick or whatever, but where they don't tell you the price, they just want you to, put in your email or something, so that they can get you either into the shop or they can get your personal contact. So, but the good news is there's other price comparison websites. So wherever you get your information about the price is okay with me. But you can't just make it up. You can't just say, well, my typical car is going to be, a Ford Focus, and that costs $25,000. Like, to me, that just sounds made up, just like I made it up then, because I've got no idea. Okay, now with the marking rubrics here, or schemas, I've tried to be really specific about where you're getting marks from. So this part of the assignment is worth 4 marks, and that little box tells you where you're going to get the 4 marks from. So if you write nothing, you'll get nothing, obviously, no marks. But if you write really clearly thought out, if your reason's really strong and there's some mathematical logic there, and if you know how to use a paragraph, then you'll get 4 marks.
Can I point one thing out, John? I just want to point out that both of those questions use the verb justify, justifying your decision, and that means that you have to have evidence, so that there would be references in there.
Okay, thank you. Hayden, I think we can stop.